Hi, I'm Mark. I have an oven in my car and little to no experience in baking. Join me as I bake in my car.
Welcome to another episode of Baked in My Car. Today we're coming from Winch Country on the 8th day of an adventure in the Victorian High Country. And we're going to be making a meat and potato stew. Here are the ingredients you're going to need. And here's a list you can screenshot for later. It's been a while since our last video, so I thought I'd start with the live stream. Now let's get started with the cooking. Roughly slice your potatoes into chunks like this.
Now the next thing we're going to do is whack the potatoes in the oven bag.
We're using an oven bag today because we're doing some steep four-wheel driving and I want the food to stay in the oven. Take an onion and slice it like this. You don't have to be fancy, you just want to cut it roughly. After that's done, throw it in the oven bag with the potatoes. It wouldn't be a meat and potato stew without a bit of meat, so we've got to warm up a skillet and then get to cutting our lamb steaks. Cut the lamb steaks into small chunks and then throw them into the pan so they can brown. This may seem unnecessary because we're cooking it again, but trust me, it'll help with the texture and flavour. While that's going, cut some bacon into small pieces. After that's done, you want to toss the brown lamb into the oven bag. As you can see, I'm having a bit of trouble with the wooden spoon, so if you're going to do it, use tongs. Once the pan's clear, fry your bacon, making sure to stir it around so it cooks evenly. Once that's all cooked, you want to chuck it in the oven bag to join the party. And everybody knows a good glob of tomato paste makes everything better. As do mushrooms. Also add in a good splash of red wine. Watching this back, I realised I might have added a little bit too much. But it still tasted good, so no harm done. Now add in some gravy. I'm using one of those ready-made sachets, but you could also make up some powder if you've got that in the car. Add a spoonful of flour in to thicken it up. And this is totally optional, but you could chuck in a few handfuls of pasta to make it a bit more interesting.
So now you smush up your oven bag.
Smush up the bag however you want. Now it's time to tie up the oven bag, chuck it in a tray, and throw it in the oven.
Gonna set it to about 150.
This should take about 3 hours to cook at 150, which gives us plenty of time to pack up camp and go for an adventure. Or in our case, a misadventure. Okay, so what happened here was I was going up the hill, I broke through the clay, I turned on the diff lock to help, and then ended up sliding diagonally.
Time for an FJ adventure!
We didn't get to film it, but the first step of this recovery involved winching the back of the car to be straight with the track. After that, we repositioned and I was lowered back down the hill. Look at my tyres and you can see how slippery the track was. Even though it was a bit stressful at the time, getting stuck is all part of the adventure. And it gave my mate Ben a good excuse to test out his new winch. The track was so slippery, we even had an interesting time getting the recovery vehicle out. After this was done, we continued on the adventure to our lunch destination, Lanky Plain Hut. This hut sits on the Dargo High Plains, surrounded by land that's been used for summer grazing since 1888. It was at this point I discovered one friend had let me down a hill today, and another had just let me down.
So it's been 2.5 hours, and we've discovered that the oven is not working. So we will not be baking in our car, we will be stewing on our stove.
The show must go on. We chucked all the ingredients in the oven bag into a pot with a little bit of water and gave it a stir. It was a sad moment, but after one phone call to Travel Buddy, I had everything I needed for the oven to bake another day. And in the end, we had an interesting story and a hot lunch.
There you have it, a stew not baked in your car. We drove some tracks, attempted to bake some snacks, got stuck, got winched, and now we're here up in the cold cooking a stew. Thank you for watching Baked in My Car. Make sure to like and subscribe and to follow us on Instagram at bakedinmycar.